The FinTech marketplace is a crowded one, and that might be an understatement. Every day, new apps and products are introduced promising frictionless financial transactions and new angles for money management and financial freedom. The Middle East in particular has proven to be a hotspot for fintech aspirations. Some succeed, others don't. Yet one UAE-based company has had a methodical climb for several years. It's called Ziina. I'm Cody Combs, and for this episode of Business Extra, we're going to take a close look at Ziina, a Dubai-based fintech startup which has the goal of trying to bring economic freedom to every person throughout the Middle East while also enhancing financial literacy. That company has also been in the headlines recently for obtaining something from the UAE called a Stored Value Facility license. And while it might sound complicated, Ziina is very excited about it, and we'll hear more about that in just a moment. But first and foremost, here to discuss Ziina's path over the last few years and hopes for the years ahead is Faisal Toukan, Chief Executive and Co-founder of Ziina. Faisal, thanks so much for joining us.
No, thanks for having me, Cody. It's great to be on the podcast.
So, we've covered you over the last few years, but for those who aren't aware, what is Ziina? What does it provide?
So Ziina started off with one very, very simple value proposition, and it allows both people and businesses to get paid. That's it in one line. And while that sounds very simple on the surface, there is a lot of work that goes behind the scenes, right, to make that happen. And we're lucky to be working with a phenomenal team of top technologists internationally, right? People that come with backgrounds from Apple and Coinbase and Nubank and Amazon to put this together. And very simply, consumers can use the Zena app today to split the bills between each other. So we have a number of users using that. And then we have tens of thousands of businesses using Zena monthly to collect payments, whether that's in person, online, or on social media.
Now, you've said it simplifies things. How exactly does it simplify things compared to the normal way of doing it?
So most technology companies, if we're going to build a social media website tomorrow, would basically go, right, build out the website and launch it. Building a financial technology company is something that's a lot more sensitive. And what I mean by that is that you're dealing with people's money. So you have to be very, very cognizant of how the technology is built, right, how secure it is. And you're also working with a lot of third-party providers. So Ziina is a company that cannot just go and launch a website tomorrow. We have to work with banking partners to take it live. We have to work with Visa and MasterCard. We have to work with providers like checkout.com so we're able to settle the funds, right? So it's a combination between technology and money. And the team have to work very diligently to make sure that that all is a smooth process, right? So while the user sees one click of the button to receive funds as a business, right? They send 2 clicks and it's all in their wallet. What's going on behind that is a lot of collaboration between a number of partners and some magical tech built out by our engineers.
Where does the name come from? I always like to ask that whenever I have a startup on.
Okay, I love this question because Ziina means beauty or ornament in Arabic. And for us, it's also a woman's name, right? So it's a common name in the Arab world. So for us, something we pride ourselves on is combining fintech with art and design. And our head of design, Antoine, has done a phenomenal job of basically bringing that to life. So we've won, and all credit to him, right? We've won international design awards like the Red Dot Award that are really bringing those values to life. So it means ornament or beauty.
That's interesting. Design and finance, you don't often see those things merge, so that's interesting.
Exactly. And the thing is about most great companies internationally, and if you study them, is they combine two things that are supposed to be counterintuitive together. So Nike took the most common product on planet Earth, which are shoes, right, a commodity, and combined that with greatness and aspiration, two things that should be counterintuitive. Apple back in the day took design with at that point, was the most ugly industry in the world, which was hardware, right? You had these boxes in these back rooms. So for us, it's combining art and finance together.
Back in 2022, we did an article on Ziina, and you said your goal was to boost financial literacy in the Middle East. And things change fast. It's been 2 years later. Is that still the same goal, or have things broadened out a little bit for you all?
I love this. The vision never changes for any company, right? And thanks for highlighting that. So our goal every single day is to bring financial freedom to every single person in the Middle East. And the best way we think we can do that is by becoming basically the go-to platform for both businesses and consumers. We're starting in the UAE. It's a great place to get started, right? And the population is extremely tech savvy. People are very open to new technologies. There's a great amount of funding. It's a great ecosystem. And the regulators, who we're going to touch on today, are also very open-minded, right? But our goal is eventually to expand Ziina to basically address the needs of the 400 million people in the region.
You touched on it a little bit, I think, with your first answer, but I just want to sort of be clear and get a greater understanding. How many users of the app and platform do you have? That can get complicated because I know you have users, but you also have the businesses that use it.
Yeah, so if you want to look at basically active users, you can pin us at above 50,000 at the moment.
So the recent announcement, Ziina becoming the first venture-backed startup to secure the UAE Central Bank's Stored Value Facility license. First off, what's the SVF license?
So the SVF license is called Stored Value Facility License. And if we want to break it down, it basically means that you're able to store people's money securely, and you're verified by the central bank to be able to hold their funds and provide the ability to exchange value. Now, what does that mean in Zena terms? Today, Zena provides one value proposition. Again, more simple on the surface, but we allow people to send and receive funds between each other, and we allow businesses to collect payments. With this license, and thanks to the backing of the central bank, we're now able to turn Zena from being a payment acceptance platform to being an end-to-end financial platform. So very soon, we're going to be able to roll out end-to-end financial services for the full for both our businesses and our consumers. You can imagine investments, cards, bill pay, and we have some other products that we're quite excited about.
I assume you sort of anticipated getting the license, but what's your timeline for rolling out some of those new features?
The thing with financial technology is every feature takes 6 to 7 months to launch because you're dealing with third-party providers. You need to do a lot of thorough testing around basically making sure the technology is as secure as possible. And Facebook back in the day had a mantra called move fast and break things, right? That does not apply in financial technology. You move slow and make sure it's secure. So the timeline is usually 6 to 7 months. So while we were anticipating the launch of this license or receiving this license, and we've basically been building all of this technology in the background. So you can anticipate 3 or 4 products launching within the time horizon of 3 or 4 months.
The UAE obviously wants to be a leader in this space, but they also want to make sure it's done correctly. Can you take me through how complicated, and maybe that's not even the right word, but how intricate the process was of getting this SVF license?
So it took us 2 years to get the SVF license, and the central bank team were extremely engaged throughout the process. I mean, they do have very, very high standards, and rightly so, right? Especially when it comes to storing people's money. Let's forget about processing payments or being basically a middleman for investments, right? If you're storing people's funds, there's a lot that goes into it. You have to think about things from a cybersecurity level, right? How are you thinking about encrypting people's data to make sure it's inaccessible? What are you doing in terms of risk processes, right? To make sure that basically the ledger you have is accounted for. And what I mean by that is that every dirham that you show on a digital wallet is actually backed up by a dirham in a banking partner's wallet. Third would be, how are you going to do your reporting and how are you going to report your customer flows to the central bank? Monthly reports, quarterly reports, annual reports. So for that process to come together, it took around 2 years. It took work from the technology team, compliance team, and also we had some amazing people internationally from some really large fintechs help us in the process to make sure everything was as secure as possible. On top of that, I think this is also a very big part of it, is that as collateral, basically just for safety purposes, we were required to park, and not only us, it's a requirement for the license in general, 15 million dirhams in a bank account that is completely untouched. So we had to work with some of our investors to be able to take 15 million dirhams and just leave it in an account as collateral as well. So that's also a big requirement. So 2 years and the 15 million dirhams later, here we are.
That is a lot of due diligence, both on your end and the UAE government's end. And that's, I guess, a testament to the perseverance. 2 years is a lengthy process. So it's interesting to say the least. Now, in the news release, when you talked about the SVF license, you were quite excited about it. And you said something to the effect of that the UAE is moving quickly toward a cashless society. Now, what do you say to those who were skeptical about that? That sort of projection has been around for quite some time. And I know just this morning, our producer of this podcast, one of our producers asked me for change, some cash. And so when we were all struggling to get cash together, give him some change. But what do you say to people who are skeptical about that? It seems to be going in that direction, but every now and then, it pops up.
So hopefully we're going to solve your producer's problem quite soon for the both of you. And that's the goal, right? So maybe after this call, I'll onboard him onto Ziina. But besides that, if you look at the transaction volume of the UAE in general, if you're looking at something called POS transactions, right, which is point of sale. So if I'm going to purchase something from anyone in general, right, or any store in the UAE, the breakdown is that 80 billion go through cards, 72 billion go through bank transfers, and 31 billion go through digital wallets. And out of the bank transfer segment, around only 10% is in cash, which means that it is moving substantially towards a digital economy. Ziina is a substitute for cash, but beyond that is a substitute for bank transfers as well. That is very much a manual process today, right? both on the business front and on the consumer front.
So I think it's safe to say you're going to be expanding your offerings. The app's going to get more powerful. The platform is going to get more powerful. That leads me to my next question. There's a lot of talk over the last year, maybe the last 2 years, the idea of the Everything app. One-stop shop. You won't need any other apps. Is that something that Ziina aspires to, or are you kind of just sort of staying focused for the time being? Maybe somewhere in the middle.
I don't believe in everything apps. I don't think that's a thing that exists. And you have to be able to nail down a specialty and do it phenomenally well, right? I think that everything apps exist maybe in the time horizon of decades, but within a specific decade. And if you look historically at companies like Apple, right, Microsoft, you really have to nail down one specialty. And especially when it comes to financial services, I do not think it's a good idea to layer other services with people's financial well-being, right? And there's an element of trust. At the end of the day, if you look at the banking ecosystem, banks really sell one thing, that is trust. And what we've been building at Ziina over the past 4 years, if I had to say one thing, is number one, unbelievably strong UX, right? That's our aspiration. And number two is going to be trust with our businesses and our consumers. So just to summarize, when it comes to financial services, I believe that you really need to take an intricate approach to it and just focus on financial services. And you could be the everything app of financial services, but I don't see it being cross-sector.
There's a lot of competition in the UAE when it comes to apps. Some apps do more than others. How do you stand out amid all that competition?
I think that for us, what we realized is that there's this really, really large untapped need that small businesses have in the UAE, right? Small, medium businesses. And they are quite overlooked. So we conduct around 4 user interviews per week, and combine that with the fact that we've been operational for 4 years now, stacks up to a lot of interviews with our users, and we spend a lot of time with them. And the average business user in the UAE now, at minimum, takes 3 to 4 months to onboard onto their banking portal. So let's go through their journey. I'm a business, I'm getting up and running. I'm very excited about selling something, right? Selling couches, let's say, is my new passion. I go and incorporate the entity, which the UAE does quite well. That's done within 2 days. But then to open up a bank account, that takes 4 months on average. After that, only after I open the bank account can I apply for a terminal to get paid. So I have to apply for my payment gateway to get paid on my website. That's one process. And then I have to go ask for this big terminal that usually takes 6 weeks to apply for. So add 4 months, add the 6 weeks on top of that, it's 5.5 months later, and you're just allowed to accept payments, right? Contrast that to Ziina, very much thanks to the team and the ability of the tech they've built in, is that you can get up and running in the account in literally less than 2 minutes. So we've realized that there is this huge need for business banking in the UAE, especially for small and medium businesses that have been largely unaddressed. And payments is the most significant pain point, but this does expand to spending, right? Card management, investing as well.
Ziina has been relatively successful, I think it's safe to say, in obtaining funding and showing sort of a upward trajectory. But how are things going with Ziina? Are we looking at, is an IPO way down the road? Or what's next for you all?
I love that you say that, because our aspiration is only to be an IPO. That is it. And I anticipate an IPO in 4 years from now. That's the target. So we're working with our investors quite closely to get there. And the targets are quite clear internally as to what revenue metrics we have to hit to get to that level. Leveling up an organization is really exciting because you get to bring in more and more talent from across the world. And if you walk into Ziina, it does really look like the United Nations and how diverse it is. And I'm really grateful to be working with this team. Yeah, people have joined us from Nubank in Brazil. That's worth $60 billion, right? We have hires that have joined us from Revolut. So they've joined us from basically the company that they've scaled at $45 billion in recent valuation. Yandex in Russia, Apple, Uber in San Francisco. For me, it's basically an evolution of the talent you bring on board, because the people define the roadmap and they define basically how the products are built out. So over the next 3 years, Ziina is going to evolve from being a payments platform to being an end-to-end financial ecosystem, which we're quite excited about.
Interesting. And you've navigated, I think it's safe to say, the rough and tough startup world. But what advice would you give to others in the Middle East with these entrepreneurial aspirations that want to enter this sort of entrepreneurial space? What
separates any entrepreneur or the best entrepreneurs from the rest is pure resilience. Ups and downs come and go, basically, and it's part of the journey. But unwavering resilience, and I'd say almost to the level of relentlessness, is what really drives people forward. And that comes to basically recruiting talent, fundraising, and getting revenue metrics, and especially in this global economy right now. So I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that it's actually one of the toughest fundraising environments in the world right now. this is when the good companies are made. So people can view it as basically being a tough market or an opportunity, because the people that come out of this 3 years later are going to be the ones that basically go through that next boom cycle with a lot of momentum. So every economy comes with, it's a dual-edged sword. It works with you or against you, right? And this is a time where you make the economy work with you to get the best talent on board and to be able to acquire customers for cheaper as well.
All right. Faisal Toukan, Chief Executive of Ziina, thanks so much for joining us on Business Extra.
Thank you, Cody. Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
That's a wrap for this episode. Thanks so much for listening. This podcast was produced by Arthur Edison and Doa Fareed. I'm your host, future editor Cody Combs. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so you can get the latest Business Extra episodes as soon as they come out.